Dear Miss Blue, says this letter, my husband and I have been married for over 28 years. We're both hardworking as we run our own business. I always thought we had a wonderful relationship. We still have children at home, so you know there's plenty going on. Lately, he's so crabby. All he ever wants to do is go to work and come home and watch TV. When we go somewhere, I practically have to drag him out of the house. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Well, here's the problem. This morning, we, parentheses, the oldest son and myself, asked what was bothering him and why is he so crabby. He blew his stack, said he was going to pack his bags and go where the action is. Now, I ask you, what kind of action is he talking about? I give him all the action he wants. I'm really upset. Is it true that men get a 50-year itch? And it's signed Confused of St. Louis.
Of course, I mean, now here is poor Lonesome George. He's been around.
Ask if he's itching.
And he knows that when a man hit 50, he has that urge to go out and see what's on the waterfront, you know. So just send him down to the waterfront.
What, is he going to plumbing school? What do you mean on the waterfront?
Under the arch and see what's going on. Let him walk around. Time he walk around down here in this heat, he'll be ready to go back home.
That's the kind of action he needs, right?
Yes.
Send him down to the arch.
And put him out in the yard and let him cut the grass in this hot weather. That would take some of that energy out of him.
I don't think that's what he had in mind. What do you say, Lonesome
I wouldn't think he had that in mind at all.
No.
But she's got the right idea. But I never, because I started traveling and running around and spend so much time in clubs, and if it's talking about action and being amongst people, this is not my idea of a big thing. My idea is to get with a few friends, play golf, and tell a few lies, and I'd get back home. I hate to leave home. We very seldom go out at home.
You don't have the 50-year itch, in other words.
No. Well, I got a salve for it, so it's all right if I get it. Now, I'll tell you what you do. You rub it with Vickers 10W30 oil. And, it's just,
I knew you'd get a commercial if you worked at it.
Well, that's what I do,
Well, is 50 a critical age for a man? That's the point. Obviously, you did your running around at an early age, and you got it all out of your system. You sowed your wild oats, right?
Yeah. But
kind of oatless.
I suppose that maybe in my business it's a little different. Yeah. But nowadays, 50 is not really old.
No.
That used to be really old when somebody when I was a kid, if your grandmother was 82 years old, they said, this is it. Now they got them running around 102.
Yeah.
And
wearing
almost everybody everybody expects to live to be about 85 now. We met a fellow in Moline day before yesterday. He's 91 years old, and he plays golf 3 times a week, and I mean 18 holes.
Is that right?
So I imagine he must be itching pretty good.
Maybe it's the sun.
Well, I don't know. Or the water.
Well, what's this lady going to do? Miss Blue wants her to mow the wants her to
to take some of that excess energy out of him, put him out there and let him mow the lawn. I mean, the way this hot sun is coming down, that would really take it out of him.
That'll slow him.
Right. But the other day over in Famous, I met the cutest little lady that you ever did see.
Yeah.
And she had such beautiful hair. And I said, oh, you have beautiful hair. She says, oh, it's Miss Clara all,
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, don't we all? She says, but I'm 71 and I can still bump. And she stopped right there. Famous and started bumping.
Great. She was bumping and Famous.
Yeah. And everybody was like, but she was so cute, and she was the cutest little thing. And she said, she said, nobody gets in my way. And she said that they're popping her fingers bumping. Doing the bump.
I think we ought to try to get her on the Gong Show.
They might let her get a few bumps in there. You never know about that. Well, let me just, we've covered the mailbag. Oh, there's some more calls. Let's just see what's coming in here, Miss Blue. Hello, did you have a problem for Miss Blue or Lonesome George?
Well, I'd like to talk to Lonesome George for a second. Say, George, you there?
Yeah.
Okay, listen, would you briefly run through that story about when you and Bob Hope and President Nixon were at the golf course? I understood that Rich Little had something to do with the punchline, and would you please ask Jack to tell you about good old Pookie Snackenberg? Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, this happened, President Nixon, who was then president, at the invitation of Bob Hope, came to Lakeside to play golf. Now, we've got a little club within a club. There's like 16 of us in there. Dick Whittinghill, who you know. I think.
Mm-hmm.
He's in there, too. And there's about 16 lockers in there. And we got our own little captain's table and chairs. And so we're sitting around there talking, and I'm pretty quiet. And so finally Robert came in, the locker room fellow, and he said, Mr. Hope, should I serve some hors d'oeuvres? And Bob said, well, Mr. President, what do you think? Well, he said, no, we can only stay for a few minutes. So Robert left, and I volunteered to remark. I said, well, Mr. President, you sure goofed it up for the rest of us. That's the first time Robert ever offered anybody hors d'oeuvres in the locker room. He said, well, I'm sorry about that, George. I said, well, that's all right. I know you're kind of busy. And I'm sitting right under my name on the locker because so many people were squeezing in there, and I wanted him to know that I was entitled to be there.
Sure.
You know, I didn't want to be pushy. So pretty soon he's getting ready to leave, and he said, well, I really have to be going. And I said, well, that's just as well. By now I've had one or two of those Gatorades.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I know those.
And I said, well, it's probably just as well because I'm going to call Alice as soon as you leave, and I'm going to say, Alice, I'm running a little bit late, and I'm having a couple of drinks in the locker. She's going to say, well, what's new about that? You know, I expect. I said, then I'm going to lay it on her. I'm going to say, I was drinking with the President of the United States. He said, you think that's going to help? I said, not a damn bit, but she's probably going to say something like, well, he's a nice guy, but don't get drunk with him and louse up our evening. So this broke it up a little bit in the locker room. We laughed. And he gave us all a golf ball with his name on it. And so he said, well, let's call Alice.
President said that.
Yeah, let's call Alice. I said, yeah, that's a good idea. And he was serious, you know, so I said, well, I don't know. And now I've been a member of this club 19 years. I don't know how to get an outside line all of a sudden, you know. So somebody dialed, got Alice on the phone, and everybody standing around her just holding their breath. And he's calling Alice. He's calling. Oh. And when he said, well, thank you, Alice. Yes, it's a pleasure to talk to you too. After he said, this is the President. Everybody just breathed a big sigh of relief. And he said to me, he said to Alice, he said, you know, I almost made a hole in one today. He said, and it was a brand new ball. It's got my name on it. He said, I put it back in the box, and I gave it to George and said, I want you to take this to spooky old Alice. And he kind of winked at me. And that's the first time I ever had a president wink at me, too. So now he's talking. I turn around to the rest of the guys. I said, I wish he hadn't told Alice about that golf ball. I was going to give that to a broad in New York. And got a big laugh around there. And he looked around. He didn't know what the laugh was. So now I get on the phone with Alice after he said goodbye. And so he asked somebody. I said, yeah, Alice, it really was. No, it was his idea. No. Yeah, well, I feel a tap on the shoulder, and it's President Nixon. And I look around. He said, George, here's another ball. This one's for the broad in New York. And, you know, they talk about this guy and all that, but I think that one afternoon, he made an American out of me because he was so considerate and everything.
Alice did believe it was President Nixon.
Oh, she had gotten word somehow by the grapevine, but she might have said something else, which is what happened. Gordon McRae and Rich Little took the story, and they said, when he called Alice, he said, I'm the president, and Alice says, yeah, and I'm the queen of, you know. Yeah. But it wasn't that way. Actually, Alice was...
she was nice to him.
She was, oh, yeah.
Well, he used to talk to Khrushchev. I guess he could handle Alice.
Well, I don't know whether that's a fair comparison. You haven't met Alice, have you? You know, I mean, if you talk about this guy with the 50-year itch or something like that, I wouldn't... Alice wouldn't have to be calling Miriam about that.
She wouldn't?
No, she knows. She can tell. She can spot a blonde hair and a yellow shag rug.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
At 100 yards, probably.
Well, probably, yeah.
Well, see, that's the kind that, you know, you can't help but love Alice.
Not when you got trust like that in the
marriage.
Right.
I mean, Alice is the kind that all the wives should you know, get in touch with Alice and find out how she keeps poor Lonesome George lonesome.
I don't think George fools around, though. I mean, I don't think...
You just heard him say that he wouldn't dare to.
Well, I mean, he doesn't want to, Miriam. That's it. It's not fear. He's
Let
not
Marion
afraid.
say what she wants to say. Don't put words in her mouth.
Well, I don't believe you're not that kind of a guy. You're a clean-cut, wholesome. You like the great outdoors. You play golf, that sort of thing.
Oh,
Girls
yeah.
don't bother you.
I get up every morning, run 2 miles, swim about 3 lengths of the pool, 4, and I'm planning on it anyway.
You haven't started yet.
No, not yet, but I
Yeah.
mean, you've got to work up to these
Yeah,
things.
yeah, it's a long emotional thing first.
You have to first get up and make it around the house, before.
Well, that 2-mile run in the morning, I had an apartment like that once.
Oh, is that
Yeah,
right?
I had to go to the standard station. It was about 1.5 miles, 2 miles.
You
Look,
had-
we're out of time, Mary.
But are you still on your 10-speed bike every morning?
No, I haven't been riding my bicycle lately, Miriam. A lot of people cancel their subscription, and there just wasn't a lot of point in my getting up that early to throw that small
Yeah.
number of newspapers.
Right.
We're out of time, Miss Blue. I want you to give Lonesome George and All Is Well.
And all is well, George, and thanks for
Yeah,
coming
if anything's
in.
ailing you this morning, All Is Well, straighten it out.
It's all straight now. I'll
Give
tell you, it's
another
great.
All is well.
Because he looks like he's starting to itch, Miriam. Maybe one more and one for the folks at St. Anne Dodge.
And all is well.
Lonesome George, it seems to me when last we talked, you told me that you had been on KMOX a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, it was about 1937.
Yeah.
I'm almost sure it was 37 or 38 because I keep track of things by the cars I had, and I had a
Yeah.
37 Hudson.
Hudson.
Yeah, and I used to argue with Skeets all the time because he was driving a Buick,
Yeah.
and he couldn't understand when I was driving a Hudson.
Yeah.
Because I liked Hudsons. But once you got into that Hudson line, you had to kind of stay with them, because,
If you traded for anything else, you're in trouble.
yeah, you were in trouble.
Yeah.
But I remember that, and we were on at 5:30 in the morning.
It was that with
Pappy-
Cheshire,
Pappy
Pappy's Cheshire,
yeah.
and Skeets Yaney.
Skeets and Frankie, and I was sorry to hear that Ambrose Haley was killed in an automobile
Yeah.
accident last week. His wife sent me a nice note. And, the Nicholas sisters, Wade Ray,
Yeah.
Pug-Nosed Fiddler, Banjo Murphy.
Yeah.
Oh, we had some time.
At 5:30 in the morning.
Well, a lot of times you didn't get up at 5:30. They used to book some of these shows, sometimes as far as 200 miles away.
Yeah.
And you'd finish up, if it was a dance or something like that, you didn't get out of there till 2 o'clock in the morning. And then you'd get in your car, drive like the wind, and come in and do the hour-and-a-half show. And
Did it have a studio audience in?
No,
No.
not at that time of the morning. Oh, there used to be some people coming in, but
Yeah.
not a lot. And
I guess the group you'd get at 5:30 in the morning might be kind of an undesirable studio audience. type.
well, yeah, you'd probably have to sing lullabies to gamblers, musicians, and bartenders. That'd be the only ones around. And we weren't singing lullabies at 5:30 in the morning.
Now, what were you then? Well, how did you bill yourself?
Well, just tried George Gobel, but that didn't work. Everybody called me Georgie Gobel, and because on WLS they started the Little Cowboy, that kind of stuck with me a little bit.
Yeah.
But by the time I got over here, I was out of high school already, and I didn't like that little Georgie Gobel.
Yeah.
But my name was George Gobel, and I was little.
Mm-hmm.
Even after I grew up, I was little.
Mm-hmm.
And but if you can make $1, and
Sure.
it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. In those days, show business. I was young and strong. I could go back to the hotel and sleep for 4 or 5 hours.
Start
get
all
out
over.
and just back off and take another run at them. It
Yeah.
was great. Can't do that anymore.
Did you wear a big 10-gallon hat and all that?
Oh yeah, I had the whole thing, a black and white cowboy suit with embroidery on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What was your most requested number, Cowboy George?
Well, there's one berry picking time, and the other one was sipping cider through a straw. You don't know those songs, do you?
No.
No? Well, I can give you a lot of them. Do you know I won't need my 6-gun in heaven when I ride through them pearly gates and meet my old paint horse on the pastures in the sky blues?
No.
No. Do you know beneath that lonely mound of clay?
No.
You don't know any of the good stuff. I don't see how you get along in this business.
Well,
I really don't.
How did Zip Berry Picking go?
There was a berry bush last night. That's the verse. And the chorus goes, and we were picking berries at old Aunt Mary's when I picked a blushing bride. We rode home together. I just wondered whether I could win you forever if I tried. And at love's suggestion, I popped the question and asked you to be mine. From your kisses, I knew you picked me when I picked you in berry picking time. You think we could bring that one back?
No.
No, I like a candid answer. You don't beat around the bush at all.
Maybe a cappella didn't do it justice.
Well, that might have something. Well, it wasn't exactly a cappella because I was patting my foot.
Oh, well, I didn't catch that.
I was a little more like au gratin.
Yeah. We'll be back with Lonesome George in a minute. Well, Lonesome George is here, and we'll return to Lonesome George. I have to do the sports capsule here, but I don't have the Dodgers score. Did you find it?
No, I can't find it.
Know what they did yesterday? I know the Cardinals lost yesterday. We're in Chicago with the Cubs today. Mark Hayes of the United States shot a record 63 in the second round of the British Open today. He's leading. These are of course, early finishers at the halfway point. Mark Hayes has a 139. Hubie Green, who recently won the U.S. Open, was making a charge on the second round. He had a hole-in-one on the fourth hole in Scotland. The Quad Cities Open Golf Tournament starts today for the American pros that didn't go to Britain. That's the one, what's his name on the Johnny Carson show, the Quad Cities.
Ed McMahon. That's where we came from. We played in that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Did you? Field of 156 will compete. Is that a nice course at Coal Valley?
Yeah, it's really nice, but unfortunately, you're enjoying the same heat wave as they are.
Oh, it's
and you get out there 96, 97, that sun beating on you.
a little much.
That's a little tough.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother the pros as much naturally because first place they don't swing at the ball as many times.
Yeah.
And in the second place they're young and strong and in good shape. But it was tough for me getting on that first tee at 9 o'clock in the morning.
And it was already hot, wasn't it?
It was already hot then, yeah.
Jimmy Connors, who was beaten at Wimbledon, plays Tony Roach of Australia in Austin, Texas today. It's the World Championship of Tennis. It's a part of that tournament. And finally, Don King, the promoter, announces the site of the Ken Norton-Jimmy Young heavyweight fight today. It will be the richest non-title bout in the history of boxing. That's our sports capsule. This is Friendly. George Gobel is here, Lonesome George. You know, I talked to Joe Sullivan of the football Cardinals today. He said something that jarred me a little bit. The first preseason game, coming up for the football Cardinals, is 4 weeks from this weekend.
It seems like they just quit, I mean, with all the bowl games that they got after and all the exhibition games they got before, they're playing about 7, 8 months a year, I think.
Seems like it. 4 weeks they're going to be playing football.
Well, they're going into training camp now.
Yeah, today and tomorrow they're moving their equipment over there. I guess the players come in, what's today, Wednesday, maybe over the weekend.
And some of the teams, and I imagine the same thing with them, they have a rookie camp before, so they're already there. Now, I wouldn't want to be trying for a job where you really got to put out 100%.
2 a days.
If the weather is like this.
Yeah. Full equipment.
Yeah.
2 a days on this.
That's rough.
Listen, George, I watched the phone for requests on berry picking, and
the requests are pouring in.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Not a call.
Well, can't win them all.
No.
I mean.
Want to try sipping cider?
No, I don't believe I'm discouraged. No, I'm easily discouraged.
Going to put that in the act?
I say, at first you don't succeed, the heck with it. Just forget it.
Walk away like a gentleman.
Take a cab. You were speaking about football.
Yeah.
My son travels with me, and a fraternity brother of his, and his best pal, is Tim Rosovich. The guy, he's a middle linebacker for the Houstons now. And he was quite a character when he was younger. He was a guy that ate the glass and set himself on fire and things like that. But he's mellowed pretty good now, and he's a real nice kid.
You say when he was young, he's not that old.
Well, he's 31 now.
Oh, that's old.
And, well, it's getting close to it. I mean, he's still got 3 or 4 years left if he doesn't get hurt too bad. But anyway, this one time he's telling me he left his position to go chase a guy, and he finally tackled him, knocked him out of bounds, rolled him over. And he got up, and he didn't do anything illegal. And he started running back to the defensive huddle. And the referee said, "Rosovich, come here." He said, "Now, what did I do now?" So he says, "Yeah, ref." He said, I was on an airplane with George Gobel, and he said to tell you hello in the middle of a big game. Tim said, I never wished I didn't know anybody as much as I wished I didn't know you at that particular time.
Lonesome George is here. It's 12 minutes before 11 o'clock. You don't work with do you still work with a guitar?
Oh, yeah. I
Take
don't
your guitar.
turn a crank without that guitar.
Do
You
you?
know, that's like a security blanket to
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Carry that right out there with you.
Oh, sure. Well, I don't carry it out there, but I have it brought out.
Yeah.
I could carry it if I wanted to, but I don't want to.
Why is that?
Well, it's heavy.
The guitar.
Yeah, I got one that's lighter, but it's an heirloom, and I don't want to take it on the road with. It once saved my grandfather's life.
How did it save
In
your
the-
grandfather's
Well, it
life?
was in the Battle of Bull Run
Mhm.
during a Yankee charge, and my grandfather, he took the old guitar, slung a diaper around it, and he run down the field shouting, "Be careful, boys, you'll hit the baby."
You get to Las Vegas very often?
Yeah, we just came from there I say just
Yeah.
came. We were there 2 weeks ago. We were on the bill with Phyllis Diller.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, well, I don't think strangely enough, because I think if people want to see a comedy show, if they like comedy, they don't mind seeing two comedy acts, especially if they're entirely different. You know, and I talked.
You were on the bill with Phyllis.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I went on first, and everything worked good. The audience was real up, and Phyllis was real happy. Said she don't know when. She had a, opening where she'd get them right from the beginning,
Yeah.
like that. And I think this is true because, you know, it's much better to follow an act that's pretty strong, gets the audience up,
Sure.
than it is to follow an act where they're reaching for their hats and looking at
Putting
their
them to
clock.
sleep.
And
Don't you think she looks great since she had all
yeah,
this
she
plastic
really
surgery?
does. Yeah, she really does. We did a bit together at the end, and so we went out to her house to rehearse. And she's really something. She's got a beautiful house,
Mm-hmm.
and she was showing me through this one closet. And she said, "Here's my hats, and here's so-and-so." I said, "These are your furs?" She's got about 12 fur coats, or 13.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "I bet this chinchilla job, that must have cost you $700 or $800, huh?"
Mhm.
She said, "Yeah, and maybe," and she said, "But this is the good one over here." She's got 2 chinchillas, Sable, Mink, and living in California, you know. And every place she goes, she'll take a couple of them with her,
Yeah.
just in case there's a cold night
You never know.
sometime. Yeah.
She was here now, she'd probably have one.
Oh yeah, she'd have it with her.
Mhm.
She wouldn't wear it, I don't think, but.
She was here in town, and she drove me back to my house, and we stopped at a jewelry store, and she bought $10,000 worth of jewelry while I was waiting for her.
In Las Vegas, they got one of those shops in the mall or in the hallway,
Mhm.
like, you know, lobby. And she went in there and bought 7 or 8 dresses. So he said, I didn't ask her, but the lady that travels with her, who designs her
Mhm,
clothes, and
mhm.
her companion and secretary, her name is Gloria. I said, well, how does she get all those things home? Because Greg and I, we have problems just picking up a few things, you know, like tea prizes at a tournament or something,
Mhm.
getting them in. She said, well, when she leaves, she always carries 4 empty suitcases with her for stuff that she's going to buy.
On the road.
Yeah, and like you say, she's impulsive. She'll see something, she says, I like that. Boom.
Doesn't ask the price.
No,
nothing,
no,
just,
no,
yeah, I'll take that.
I'll take that one.
You do that? Are you a big spender?
No,
No.
I'm not really a cheapskate,
No.
but I'm
Close?
penurious, you might say.
Penurious.
Penurious, yeah.
Cautious.
Cautious. That's a better word.
Careful. With
I'm
it.
going to remember that one.
It's foolish to just throw it around.
Well, I think so. It's too hard to come by.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, and I don't want to get into a talk about salaries or something like that, but it's not too tough to make money nowadays, but try to keep some.
Mhm.
That's a pretty good trick there.
Because Uncle does take a pretty good chunk, doesn't he? When
Yeah, and if you're in this business, you got agents, managers, and getting from place to place nowadays costs you money.
Yeah.
And like you say, there's no way that I'm going to be going someplace and say, well, I could save $72 by going in the back end, you know,
Yeah.
coach.
Got to do it right.
Although I figured this way that the back end of the airplane gets there almost as quick as the front end
It's closer to the bathroom on some airplanes.
on some airplanes.
Yeah.
But I still like that walking in that front end and
Do you?
sitting down there. Sure.